There we are. So let me get our first poet out right here. Hello, this is Salia Alvarez. She was born of Cuban parents fleeing Castro's communist regime in Cuba. While waiting for their visas in Spain, Celia was born. The family moved to Miami, Florida in 1974, where they have lived ever since. She then attended the University of Miami, where she received an MFA in creative writing. She also married fellow Cain Rafael Miguel Montes in 1996, and in 2006, she published her two first collections of poetry, Shapeshifting, which was the winner of the 2005 Spire Press Poetry Award, and The Stones with Finishing Line Press. Her newest collection, Multiverses, is now available from Finishing Line Press. Please join me in welcoming Celia. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for inviting me and for being here tonight, especially Tom Goodman, who I saw. He was my undergraduate advisor. And I know Tassie's there somewhere, even though I can't see her. So, hello. I'm only going to read two poems tonight from my collection because they're rather long. And you need to know that I wrote the entirety of this book in the first 2 weeks of the pandemic. So it does reflect a lot of that shock and, isolation and depression that a lot of people were feeling. But it also does that because of the subject matter, which is the death of my infant son. So, but I'm not going to read you those poems tonight. I'm going to read you two poems having to do with a miscarriage that I had before the birth of my daughter, Lucy. The first one is called 5 Weeks. 5 weeks. According to the doctor, you are nothing but a chemical mass of cells, not even really an embryo. Failure, rejection. Did you have a soul? Was that soul inside me the night we went looking at the graffiti murals in Midtown? Were there two of us walking in the dark, gazing up at the dazzling walls, marveling at the depth and breadth and height, monstrous men and women, geometric figures, homages to Wilma Flintstone, LeBron James, and Bob Marley? A cement block geography of pop, Miami's pink guts rendered in swathes of primary colors and tagged indecipherably by the artists smart enough to know that what matters is the art. What part of you is visible in the picture we took in front of the 10-foot insect woman? Tendrils of her hair glistening in silver spray paint under the street lights. I search my face, my picture smile, always so contrived. Is there some trace on my lips of you, a seed already curling into a tadpole? The baby website says you had a dividing heart, chambers ready to beat and pump blood. I had signed up for the November Birth Club, and they still send me their hapless bulletins, trying to tell me what's going on in my uterus this week. How much of you is left in me now that I've bled out your non life, non soul chemical self? When I go back to Midtown, the insect woman mural is gone, some robot future in blacks and reds in her place, some dystopian vision. They do that sometimes, paint over the murals. No trace left of the art underneath. That other painter who spent God knows how very long dreaming, planning, measuring, coloring the vast canvas of the city, and then standing back, maybe only for a moment, in that mute blush of satisfaction, invisible in the deep black empty night. This next poem is was inspired by a story by Julio Cortázar of the same name, and it begins with an epigraph in Spanish from the story. Axolotl. Los ojos de los ajolotes me decían de la presencia de una vida diferente, de otra manera de mirar. This grief has separated us. I have mutated like a fish, grown gills to breathe this toxic air. How ghastly. You cannot understand why I will not cover them. Why, in fact, I stretch my neck like a balloon, miles above you. I say the air is thin here, full of moisture. I see you mouthing a reply down there, flailing your arms, unrecognizably small. For my birthday, you have bought me a bright blue scarf. It is the gift of a child or a stranger, someone who does not understand my world, my new biology. It's not your fault. You are basically a pack animal. Did you not think me one of you still? I would be in danger. I see you checking in on me, my anxious nurse. I'm none too sure what prognosis you think best. Should I perfect these neat new lungs, we will cease to understand each other. You will look into my gold transparent eye and see no soul, no soul like yours. Should I reject them, however, I might die, strapped to some machinery. I can almost picture it, your funhouse face, nose and chin flattened against the window of my aquarium, one finger tapping on the glass like an exotic visitor. Thank you. Very much.
Beautiful, Celia. Mhm.
Thank you, Celia. Thank you, Celia. That was really beautiful. Up next, we're going to have Chioma. Chioma Unara is a storyteller and artist of Igbo and African American heritage, living in the global South. Her written work is a deeply meditative process, connecting people, patterns, and ideas in efforts to heal herself and the collective. Her writing has been described as intuitive, intentional, and heart-connected. A Body of Water is Chioma Urama's debut collection of poetry. Her poetry and fiction have been published in Southern Humanities Review, Pleiades, Blackbird, Paper Darts, The Normal School, and Prairie Schooner. She received a Fred Shaw Fiction Prize and an honorable mention from the Lindenwood Review Lyric Essay Contest. Urama is a Benjamin A. Gilman International Scholarship alumna and a graduate of the University of Miami MFA program, where she was a Michener Fellow. She teaches creative writing and English composition at the University of New Orleans. Give it up for Chioma.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that beautiful introduction. Every time I hear like all of the list of things, I'm like, all right, let me drink some water. It's a lot to live up to, it feels like. But I'm so happy to be here with you all. So happy to be reunited with my Miami family. I'm gonna go through and look and see who's here. But I saw John. I wanted to say hi to John and Melissa and Jaswinder, just a few people that I had seen at the beginning that I hadn't already said hi to. So welcome. Thank you so much for coming. A Body of Water, and I have the book here so I can show you the cover. It's a book I began writing to create a record of my family history and later to navigate the space of intergenerational trauma in my family. It's very much a family project. The cover was created by my sister. I love it so much. And so today I'm going to read two of my favorite poems. And both of these poems were inspired by my time at Miami or written during my time at Miami. So the first one I'm going to read is called A List of Things That Give Me Pleasure, or Redirecting My Body Toward Pleasure. Fountain pens, fingers combing through a pile of sand, the space between a lover's chin and chest, someone you love calling out to you in a crowded room, water threading through your scalp, the moon locking its eye onto you. La luna como la leche y el cielo como las negritas. Wearing the same smile as your grandmother. The fullness of both hands. The salt of the ocean soaking the meanness out of your skin, returning you to soft, always this. Bathing in swollen rivers. Being held by the ground beneath a tree. a little boy called Junebug, swan boats, purple kale, blood oranges, your dancing mouth, the curve of my collarbone, finding a tree to lay under, pink, purple, and gold do-rags, revelations and warm showers, waves swelling with moonshine, buying golden and rust-colored plantains, standing on a piece of driftwood in the moonlight, the absence of fear after letting it consume your body like fire, a deep slumber as thick as molasses, ginger tea, a stranger being the mother you need in the moment, the view of the volcano from the apartment, plants quivering beneath a waterfall, hot water and lemon, lime and watermelon, a clean bed, conversations with babies, maracuya, working from home, slivers of moments when you witness a teenager through all the madness of adolescence, allowing new emotions to bloom, underneath moonlight now, movement, my first love, the seducing light beyond the bridge of myself, wind chime, circles, slowly. The last poem that I will read is titled Blue. I am in love with the self-possessed scrap of Florida sky from my occluded kitchen window. What a wonderful way to be propertied. And I think this is the spreading feeling my ancestors must have had when they looked up and took the name down for themselves. You see, I cannot think of Blue without thinking of my grandmother, without thinking of my grandfather, who I only knew through the static of the VHS tape he sent me because he had never been taught to write. This is the spirit with which I was poured into the world. Blue is my first language, the ink my mother bathed me in, christened Blue Black Girl, my blue black brother crying, crying. Blue is my lens, the pastoral violence of Virginia childhood lulled to a swollen, yawning innocence when blanketed in this color. And I cannot write about Blue without writing about Billy, without writing about swaying to the coppery rust of her voice on the patio under a broken fingernail of moon with you. Thank you.
Bravo, bravo.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
All right. Now I just have to find Judy. There she is. All right. Thank you so much, Chioma. That was really, really moving.
Beautiful.
I appreciate your words. Up next, we have Judy Hood. Judy holds an MFA in creative writing from the University of Miami, where she teaches writing studies and visual rhetoric. She has received recognition for her poetry and prose from the Robert Frost Heritage House Poetry Festival and Pirates Alley Faulkner Society, an award for Best Start Fiction from Glimmer Train, and publication of her stories in the Miami Herald and the Southern Quarterly. As a recipient of the Andrew Mellon Create Grant, she researched and wrote Attic Treasure, Flagler's Dream Train. For 5 summers, she has co-hosted Summer Solstice, a writer's workshop whose participants have aired their stories on StoryCorps, ENPR, and published Sheltering, a collection of their summer 2020 writing, painting, and photography. Her poem, Thanking Joe, closes with words from Hunter S. Thompson's Hell's Angels, and her chapbook takes its title inspiration from a line of Pablo Neruda's poetry, To Live in This World. Everyone, Judy Hood. Thank you.
Morning rips my heart out. I gasp to see it at my feet, broken into shards of memory on the tile. So sudden, Gusts grab up the pieces, hurling them to the scudding clouds, to the tamarind tops, to the hawk's eye. Slinging bits of plasma on the canvas dome, chasing silver wingtips, soaring south to Purple Sea, west to Emerald Canyon, north to Cantaloupe Moon, suspended in the charcoal night. Swirling in the cyclone, spinning out on the fury of the chimes, into echoes of rocking rails. Whales and cataracts bear witness to the ambush, savage shock. Oh, shattered heart, buried so far down and deep, in mausoleum and sarcophagus sealed, how could this be? It was only morning, waiting just outside this door. Heart, fist of muscle merely, hands fly to rescue, to protect, but come away bloodstained. I stoop to gather pieces that remain and zip them helter-skelter back inside the parts of me that breathe and lift and walk and bear the weight still. Thanking Joe. Mango blossoms, somewhere between blaze and ash, rust and burnished copper, in between. Aren't we always there, on the way to, coming from? The gumbo limbo rattles its new leaves, tiny castanets at the tips of its snakeskin branches. Bougainvillea waterfalls cascade purple and magenta. Bees hum, vibrating in the ecstasy of intoxication. I am drawn as they are, seduced by hue and honey. I would not be here now if not for Joe. A study in contrast, he scared me just a little. Long hair pulled back into a hippie ponytail, college banner on his lawn, dead head painted on his Harley, walking 4 perfectly groomed Yorkies. On the weekend, he would come around the hibiscus to offer water when I challenged the rocks at the property edge, shovel against coral, scraping across his quiet Sunday reverie. But 2 days ago, he turned around his brand new pickup truck, offered to cut back the vines I pruned as they curled over his fence into our backyard. Oh no, please don't cut them. You know we love the green. You know we love the color. His bougainvillea painted our mornings and brushstroked our evening golden hour. We thanked him for that once with a bottle of Dom. We thanked him every day. The call came when I was outdoors, rescuing yellow oleander from strangling wood rose, escaping into the wild profusion of palms and avocados, blossoms and seeds. Tangled vines and leaves cushioned my collapse. Just yesterday, just moments ago, just now. Heading home on his motorcycle, clear of the stretch, truck turned into him, never slowed down. The edge is still out there, or maybe it's in. When the time comes, do we really get to choose between now and later?
Right. Judy.
Thank you. I have one more. To live in this world, we have to reach out through these windows, through these screens to touch the ones we love and need. And we shelter in circles of yoga friends and writer friends and friends who keep us living in this world when all is chaos and confusion. And then we remember those writers' circles with Maureen and Mia and Evelina, and we are so thankful for them. When we couldn't leave our house and we couldn't leave our yards, when we were isolated and alone, the natural world saved us. So the title of this little poem has a double meaning. I can't leave. Honey light lingers, brushes green gold on the Rangoon leaves. Lavender myrtle blossoms dance with frangipani partners. to music the breeze makes high in the palms. The birds make, calling families home. The chimes make and remake, notes ringing round and round, spiraling. Day goes down, routine calls, but I can't leave. I want to bury my face in parsley and basil and thyme, in spearmint and bee balm and garlic. I want to walk the tomato rings one more time. Visit my citrines and my Galahads, catch my breath in their cleansing scent. Admire the heap of vines and branches, evidence of sweaty, salty hours of clipping and carrying. Look one last time for a mango dropped from our neighbor's tree across the fence before the squirrels can claim it. Take it home for sweet supper. Thank you.
Thank you, Judy.
Thank you.
Wow, Judy, those images, especially that, I mean, all of them, but especially that last poem with the, just all the different kinds of the basil in the garden. I really enjoyed that. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I have the honor of introducing my MFA friend, Susan. Susan L. Leary's poetry has been published in Arcturist, Chicago Review of Books, Posit, Whale Road Review, The Christian Century, and others. She has been nominated for both the Pushcart Prize and the Best of the Net Anthology, and is the author of Contraband Paradise, Main Street Rag, as well as the chapbook This Girl, Your Disciple, Finishing Line Press, which was a finalist for the Heartland Review Press Chapbook Prize and a semi-finalist for the Elise Wolf Prize. She teaches English composition at the University of Miami. I'm gonna give the mic to you.
Hey everyone, and thanks Claire for that introduction. I'm super excited to be here tonight and to read alongside such lovely poets. And I'm going to be reading from my book, Contraband Paradise, which was just released in January with Main Street Rag. And I'm going to read the first 3 poems in the book in that order. First poem. X-ray impression number 1, alternate Eden. The doctor says 60 degrees, but at the right angle, it is possible for a woman to dream ability to rebuild a man's body, to imagine his deformities to be less rare and more godlike, more exquisitely hollowed out. The precise geometries of a curved spine, but the wrecked bones of Adam restored in their digging up and returned to a contraband paradise, where measure for measure there exists opportunity to distinguish between punished and progressed. My husband's ribs a now distorted spell, where electromagnetic waves capture not an eternal glitch, but the ghost of a cottonmouth uncoiling in its slow exit from the reeded underbelly of a wet earth, such that we will come to know a condition in which we seek to alter nothing, in which we see the marvelous clairvoyance of a body that believes in its own ability to live. Second poem, A Perfect Animal. The opposite of anything is the thing itself. Say a face or a body, say lilacs blooming from within the barrel of a gun. As it pertains to the living, say each day is a crash course in survival. Say under extreme conditions, a mother may kill and or abandon her young. As such, say it possible at every baptism we arrive as low-hanging fruit, that we are as strange and as meek as thy neighbor. Say especially this means what we can't say otherwise. Say of guilt and love, only the smallest child can explain the difference. Say then you believe the sun burns as extremely as it hungers, that violence figures as a mercy which yields great returns on a body. Say then I am worthy. Say this time I will be more than the slow infinity of my name in God's mouth. that should night come, I will be given proper burial. At the very least, say one day a perfect animal will make a house from my bones. And the third and final poem. My brother can say some of the prettiest things. My brother can say some of the prettiest things, can tell you about the water and the soft smack of the net, about the sound of the line unraveling into the mouth of the finest looking snapper. All that sweetness in the ear just for him. How the sound of it barrels into the grit of his blistering palms. In them, the sound of who gets to live. Like I said, my brother can say some of the prettiest things. My brother whose hands fidget together like loose puppets across his lap, who sells food stamps for roxycodone, returns to us sporadically and goes unshowered for days. My brother who leaves in the toilet the basest remnants of a body. His mother who splits the skin of her fingers to clean it. But my brother can say some of the prettiest things, can tell you what evening smells like in the middle of nowhere, the way the lungs open to that scent of stillness between a man and nothing but the earth. All that sky accumulating just for him. How the smell of it draws near the most perfected parts of night, the parts even the stars had forgotten, so that in those stars now something heroic. Except my brother has no home and no work. My brother who instead carries the dirt of an entire city in his beard and pretends he wants to change. You see, my brother can teach the sad irony of people who say the prettiest things, but I can teach you the sadder irony of people who hear them, like each time in parting when he tells me he loves me and I believe it. Thank you.
Bravo.
Wow.
Thank you, Susan. That's really moving. I need like a minute here just to recover. Thank you. Up next, we've got our dear co-host and poet, Claire. Claire, it's an honor to introduce you and it's an honor to be your friend. Thank you so much for joining. Claire Benzadon is an MFA graduate student at the University of Miami, managing editor of Sinking City, and Broadsided Press's Instagram editor. Her chapbook, Liminal Zenith, was published by Survision Books. She was also awarded the 2019 Alfred Boas Poetry Prize for her poem, Linguistic Rewilding, and has been published in places including Swim, 14 Poems, Crepe and Pen, and is forthcoming in Anomaly and Fairy Tale Review. You can find more about her at clairebenzadon.com. Thank you so much for joining us, Claire.
Thank you so much. All right, so I'm gonna be reading some surrealist stuff because that's kind of how I roll. I'm gonna first be reading a poem from my chapbook, Liminal Zenith. Lunacy. Woman, ward off delirium by tying a skull around your belt. Then remember to place the lunacy in your hands, under the gums. Acrid hallucinations will smile at you. The brain case a protection against sticks. Phoebe, Shining Titan, fell just like that without it, from Nyx. Night is a frantic cavity where warriors marked star god Galuxi mad, cut off her limbs, tossed her head into the heavens so that she could become full again, her face a crescent painted with bells, and eagles flying down her hair. Claws scraped her scalp bare until her head tore open, her cranium crowned. Mother Cotelcu consumed herself watching this, died from insatiable insanity. After, her belly miraculously fell with a blessing, hummingbird feathers balled up, violently jammed, borne into her chest, the same way month sickness collects into umbral bales, filled with lune, convex diurnality, moon sick with the mist cycle of Venus's own hormonal rhythm. Woman, it is not enough to wish, to crack with demand. Instead, surrender. Pray to reach a blue god, maybe Vishnu, then settle with the atmosphere melting away in fantastic ablation. So now I'm going to read from my newer poems. Surreal Architectures. I'm thankful for the room with pines and their spines that brush my face like a coyote, lapping at transient berries, their lupine shadings in the holographic. The modern is normal. Sometimes this means igloons seep through the bricks of this ionic pen, conking at nocturnality. Sometimes it means to serve little owls and lizard fish their benthic free swims, scaleless woodland fringes. When I think of the precision of coo, I think of a pigeon wearing a lollipop choker, its gynecology, a soft sucking. This will be my last poem. A chronology of mistakes. Bounce back into a backyard of finches. The ear is a spike that inflames like an itch, stalking the backs of seed eaters. Put your lobe near the oxidized layer of a camera's pulse, inside the pocket of a skateboard. Be aware of how each object's tact, how sense likes to hide at a distance, noting the nothing in the not hinge that becomes a slapping trap we enter through. Another age, where turns pull consistent, intent on meddling with mellow missteps. Thank you.
Woo! Woo!
Woo!
And now I'm looking for Jason. Let's see.
Bravo.
Where is Jason? Oh, there he is.
Jason McCall holds an MFA from the University of Miami. His collections include Two-Faced God, Dear Hero, winner of the 2012 Marsh Hawk Press Poetry Prize, Silver, I Can Explain, and Mother, Less Child, co-winner of the 2013 Paper Nautilus Vela Chapbook Prize, and A Man Ain't Nothin'. He and PJ Williams are the editors of It Was Written, poetry inspired by hip hop. He is a native of Montgomery, Alabama, and he teaches at the University of North Alabama. Fun fact, Jason has also been published in Sinking City. So give it up for Jason.
Oh, thank you. And thank you to everybody. This has been wonderful. I'm almost upset that I have to read because I'm just loving being a fan tonight. So I feel like this is the worst part of my night because I have to get in the way. But really, I'm really thankful because every writing program couldn't do this. When it comes down to inviting people back, when it comes down to having a family, having a community. When I think about the University of Miami, I always think of the University of Miami as kind of one of my homes. I didn't really know what an MFA was. One of my mentors told me to apply to the University of Miami because she knew that they really looked after students. And she told me that there are a lot of beautiful people in Miami, so I should go check it out. And so she didn't steer me in the wrong direction, but for me, I always think of myself as a student of the University of Miami's program. When I think of being with Maureen, Mia, Evelina, the teachers I had to look out for me, and not just to really help me as a writer, but really to be a great model for what it means to be a teacher and what it means to be responsible and loving to our students. And especially in the last year, I think a lot of those lessons have helped me out more than anything when it comes down to just being the best resource I can for the students in my classroom. In a perfect world, I just kind of want to get out of the way and listen to everybody else, but I'm going to read a little bit. I'm going to read a couple of poems from my chapbook that just got published, A Man Ain't Nothing, from Pork Belly Press. This chapbook is inspired by the legend of John Henry. And the legend of John Henry, of course, is with him in the steam drill. But the legend of John Henry, of course, is also about the idea of convict labor, labor exploitation, a lot of other things. This first poem is called Watching Fixer Upper on Columbus Day. I watch too much HGTV. I'm sorry. Change can be a bullet or ballot initiative, raising taxes for the breakaway school district, outbreaks or broken leases. Any talk of death is too much Old Testament. Lose the salt pillar and locust. This is revival. Transitioning, rehab, flipping the page from a bloody body to the gates of a walkable community. Don't think of it as a shift in color or coin. Think of the buyers, and the modern buyers don't love anything more than gray. We love gray because gray is neutral. Gray is blameless. Gray can be anything from a mishap at sea to a language barrier, to an economic force, to an alien pathogen, to a trigger that slipped and kept slipping until no one could help but notice the blood and what blood does to the marketplace. We can tell any story with gray in a choice splash of color. Gray speaks our language. Gray attracts the neighbors we want to show the next generation of buyers when it's time to move on to a new investment opportunity, because there's just so much to gain when we take someone else's walls and knock them down. Look at how big it feels. Just look at what can happen when we open this place up. And this poem's a little bit longer, so I might just do two poems. But my grandmother just had her 85th birthday on Wednesday, St. Patrick's Day. So I used to make a lot of bad jokes about being a Mick because my last name is McCall and my wife hates them, but now I feel more legitimate because my grandma was born on St. Patrick's Day. But as I was doing more research for this book, I discovered that my great-great-great-great-grandfather was a slave owner, but also owned a railroad as I was doing more research on the railroads. So this poem is about him, but more importantly, this poem is about my great-great-great-great-grandmother, who was the enslaved person that he owned, and that's part of my family tree. So this is called My Great-Great-Great-Great-Grandfather Was a Railroad Man Who Owned My Great-Great-Great-Great-Grandmother and Shares My Birthday. He was a complicated man. At least that's what I think he would have been saying to my great-great-great-great-grandmother after stroking her hair a final time and standing over her spent body. This is always his excuse when she asks about the boy spending time with his father or her being allowed in the house when Fillmore visits in a few months. He tells her the most beautiful things have to live in darkness. He promises the most beautiful thing God ever made was the dark center of a mountain, and he swears he'll take her through a mountain one day and let her sit by the window and watch the world of Montgomery grow small behind her. Wouldn't that be sweet? He never does wait for an answer before he leaves to check on the trains and the bodies dropped off by the trains for the Commerce Street auctions and the bodies whittled down to ghost to keep the tracks in front of the trains. He leaves and I am left with nothing but my great-great-great-great-grandmother and all the bright and blight-stricken universes growing inside of her. And even the worst poets know trauma travels through time, so some of her and him have to be here with me. Now, I can blame someone for my love of the Trojan War because wealthy men always loved horses. And the beautiful poem says, he gave the baby boy a wooden horse for a birthday gift, and the boy never saw it as a trap until the boy cut his foot on a splinter, and the cut leads to a fever that won't stop burning through my bloodline. My love of Hector and Homer finally makes sense because the darkest part of my blood was teaching me to love rapists years before I discovered these names in the back of the family reunion pamphlet. And he had to be there. He had to be a proud white ghost in the room whenever I mentioned Caesar or Alexander or Charlemagne to make a room see me as something more than a Black boy who could read Latin. He had to see me as more because he had to see me as his. And every master needs a servant who can prove his master's glory. But the beautiful poem ends with love for my great, 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 great grandmother. And the beautiful poem lets me hold her in the light and shame the sun for shining on a world that did to her what it did to her. And the beautiful poem would say that she shines through me when I learn to take all the spikes this country drives into me and transmute them into Orphic songs that wake the dead and pull the earth into a tear-streaked smile. But I'm afraid of her being most like me when I dream of black holes and how they are allowed to laugh when they break free of every law man could ever name. She's there when I pray to be less. When I pray for a name the earth will never catch on its tongue, a name never whispered in the dead of night, a name never drifted over whiskey-stained lips. She's there in my chest when I pray for a heart neither hand nor hope can grip. She's there in the gentlest dusk when I pray to be reborn as a star who died before men could worry it with a wish. Thank you.
Wow, Jason. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being here. I think I speak for us all when I say that. It was really moving. Really appreciate your words. Next, we have Nicole. I'm just finding her. Okay. All right. Hello, hello. Thank you for joining us, Nicole. Nicole Hospital-Medina earned her MFA at the University of Miami, where she now instructs writing. Her poems can be read in the anthologies Poems from the Lockdown, Feminine Rising, Voices of Power and Invisibility, Women Write Resistance, Poets Resist Gender Violence, as well as in journals Cura, a journal of art and action, the Miami Herald, Linden Lane Magazine, Paper Nautilus, Blunderbuss Magazine, the Acentos Review, Canyon Voices, and more. She is the winner of the Miami Herald O Miami Haiku Contest. Her paintings have been featured in Linden Lane Magazine and as cover art for her collaborative chapbook, Myth America, in collaboration with poets Carolina Hospital, Maureen Seaton, and Holly Iglesias. Thank you for joining us, Nicole.
Hi. So thank you so much for having me. This is so exciting. Thank you, Maureen, Chantel, Claire, Caitlin, my students. I see you guys. Thank you so much for being here. I'm gonna read two short COVID poems and then one from Myth America, which was the collaborative book that we just kind of recently got published. So this one came from a really cool anthology called Poems from the Lockdown, edited by Trevor Maynard, Willow Down Books. And I mean, I think it was like April. I mean, this guy was on it, you know, he was like, let's make a COVID anthology. So I was so honored to have a piece in here. Okay, so this one is called Backpacks. The Bermuda grass falls out in bits and pieces like hair. It's not a garden, it's a sphere. Inside the ball, there is a family. Outside the ball, there is a family. In the vast yard, there is chalk and thoughts of alcohol and thoughts of leaving and thoughts about the source of this infection, patient 0. The street lights still work. People still like to run the red. La vecina still pokes at my ease. Swinging like an artist is another peach hibiscus, rubbing at a bald spot in the grass. I presume. Will we aim for the coastline? With backpacks full of powdered milk and sanitizers? Will we leave our home? Okay, this one is from the Mom Egg Review, which I think is such a cool name for a journal. It's called Keeping the Kids Apart. CNN is an infant spiral of spirals, a wormhole my daughter yanks me out of. We must keep a routine. The house is speaking now. Listen. On the sidewalk is everything you need for a pandemic. 32 pieces of multicolored chalk, cartoon fish, a red seahorse, the bottle of bubbles spilled over, a pink trucker hat, toddler size. Next to us, a brand new swing sweats in the sun. These items keep us while we wait for men to tell us, men in dark suits to tell us what to do while we play with chalk and keep the toddlers apart. Is this fear embedding in her brain? Yesterday, I pulled her away from a boy who was approaching. Okay, so this one is from Myth America, which I wrote in collaboration with Holly Iglesias, Maureen Seaton, and my wonderful mother, Carolina Hospital, published by Anhinga Press, co-directed by Christine Snodgrass, who is reading tonight as well, so that's pretty cool. And it's called The Behavioral Health Building. To get to the Behavioral Health Building located on the medical campus, take the Metro Rail to the Civic stop. Make sure it's very hot. You need to be sweaty, wishing you packed a water bottle. Then navigate through the homeless people and disappointed activists, around the garage, through the traffic of serious doctors and medical students, until you reach a refreshing fountain and a lush banyan tree. Scurry past 3 white work vans until you see graduate students drinking coffee. You should definitely feel awkward and wonder why you're more comfortable around the homeless people and activists than the professionals. Put your hair behind your ears nervously while you hurry. Arrive at a busy street. You have to press a crosswalk button and wait. It's excruciatingly summer. Someone in scrubs will cross with you. Now you better get your license ready because they are going to ask you for it, and make sure your mace is deep inside your purse so they might miss it when they search your bag. Take a shortcut through the hedge. Notice the big automatic doors. Feel the AC when they open. Enter. Walk up to the counter. Are you here for an appointment? Yes. You should be embarrassed that you're here for an appointment. You're here because you need to be, because you're a patient. License, please. Pose for the camera. Yes, they take your picture, print it out on a sticker that you have to wear until you leave. Then you go through the metal detector. Then someone in black with a stick looks through your bag, finds your mace, and shakes his head at you. You know this is considered a weapon. Think, 9 out of 10 times, no one finds a stupid thing. You can't enter the building with this. Well, you know how it is, walking around downtown, you offer. Take the weapon outside, throw it in the bushes. Remember where to pick it up later. You've done this before. Finally, they'll let you go in, so you can go up the elevator to the icy 3rd floor, past the all-gender bathrooms and into suite 3308. 2. I rainbows under June's mattress. 3. You need to take more time for yourself. Ask others for help. Physical activity, therapy. I don't want to put you on any more medication right now, especially now that you're trying. Perhaps during the 2nd trimester, hypothetically speaking. But my anxiety is so bad. 4. That's me with the thin hair, aviators and restless genes leaving the behavioral health building, the behavioral health building, the behavioral health building. That's me swerving through the other crazies, melting at the Civic Center stop. If I didn't have healthcare, would I dissolve into the sidewalk? Would I stroll to the park for a specific tree? 5, only a rainbow could stop it. Thank you.
Bravo.
I love
Thanks, John.
love that reflection in the end, and the repetition of behavioral health building, and just, I mean, everything, that piece, the anxiety that comes about, and a lot of the action that you have in your poems are just beautiful. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right. Up next, we have Christine. Christine, it's so nice to meet you.
Hi. Hi. Oh, I'm so excited to be here. Oh my gosh. Okay. Thank you guys for inviting me and having me. I just love the spirit here, and it makes me think I miss this Miami space so much. It's been a really long time, I feel like, since, hi, Melissa. Oh my God, Holly, Evelina, Maureen. I started my journey at University of Miami in 2001. And it's just been amazing. So, okay, so I'm going to read one long poem from one of my latest chapbooks. It's a solo chapbook, and it's called Rather, and it's by Contagion Press, and it also has like a Miami connection because Virgil Suarez published it. So all you Virgil people. So it's a kind of a long poem, and it's
before you start.
Okay.
Let me formally introduce you. I apologize.
Oh my God.
No, I didn't want to interrupt you, but I also want to, just praise
Okay,
you.
I'll be quiet, I promise.
No, it's no problem. So Christine Snodgrass is an artist, poet, professor, curator, and publisher living in Tallahassee, Florida. The proud founder and curator of Women Asemic Artist and Visual Poets Wave, Christine searches to create an online space for women in the Asemic and Vispo communities to share work, offer support, and network. Christine is the author most recently of American Apparel from Alien Buddha Press, Rather from Contagion Press, and the chapbook These Burning Fields, Historical Books, as well as Out of the World, also by Historical Books, and The War on Pants by Jackleg Press. So now, please give it up for Christine.
Okay. All right, thank you for that introduction. All right. Okay, this is called Constellation of Mandibular Wonderment. What is truth and how is it killing me? Here you go. Place the ramshackle into whatever form you want. We are destined to be soup cans and pollywags. Today, I read Emily Dickinson, and I think she is the best haiku master. What you see here is not true. I am not this persona. My eyes are yellow and my head is disfigured, so much like plastic melted in the microwave. I don't have a microwave. The truth you see. Particulars in light move away from sketches of the evening. People receive France differently. When I gain weight, my body says, you are fat. But this is really truth daily, truth like Emily. When I read her, I wish I had a microwave to melt my leftover sausage into a sauce. There are fillers that you can get to pry skin on your face, your wrinkles, back to some taut cylinder. See shadows, carry fixation. When I get wrinkles, I say, you are wrinkled, but this is the truth daily. The truth is, I am a hag. And not the witchy Game of Thrones kind, but the boring, everyday mom that no one wants. I have it all, they say. I am really sick, they say. And the beauty of misery is so skeptical of me. How can you be miserable, they say. And right, the truth is, I am not. I do everything right, I suppose. And that too is not right. I am a hag, boring, petulant in my happiness, the beauty of stations of caterwauling. I am no poet, they say. That is fine. The truth is, I don't want your poetry. And the Frenchmen tell me that misery condemns us to platitudes. And they tell me that I have too much this and too much that. There's no paucity in my future. The truth is, that is not the truth. I am poverty now. If I told you so many things about me, you might blush. Or you might say, I am a hag. Older, I guess, but lack of perpetual and factual. I make things up, I think. No, I am too honest. When the hags of the olden time spoke to us, maybe a song or a story, they said, beware, you will become like me. I am here to say, relax. I will not do any research on hags. I am the research. I don't want to be boring, you see. I'm going to leave now. I'm having an affair and the man awaits. The woman awaits. The truth, you see, is plated and not forgiving. I think French thinkers have the best titles for poems, not just bonjour or ennui, rather this of that construction or this for that, cauldron of malfeasance or fruits of vulnerability. The truth is that is forsaken. Really, the yellow ink is the best, how it drips. I let it when I hold the paper upright all the way onto the surface under. What drips under? Most things drip down or onto. I think the red ink is less sexy and more like a hag. Yellow is very sexy. I used to think it a signal. I hate signs so overplayed to a waiting man. Like the truth is, I am here waiting for your sex. And then I had a man respond and it was fecund and portable. Every day I look for men. Truth is, I like women. Who knew? There are more constructions that I think are layered in French thinking. And then the one time I broke up with Paul Salon, I hate name dropping because he just dragged me around in a circle. That was it, the dragging. What a waste of my time. He is not French, but I think in French so often. It is disheartening, really. I feel guilty for not reading more women. I want to kiss all of them. They seem so soft. They are hags too. Fantasy. In the mornings, I think so many writers describe their mornings. I drink tea and feel bad that I am not more miserable. I think about how I am fat and old and wrinkled. Who could ever have sex with me? If you see me, I am not real. Yellow eyes like ink dripping. My eyes will drip all over you if you let them. Not crying, truth is, it is a leak from my head. I am not right, they say. Yeah, but at least you are not like me, they say. I don't feel ugly. I think American women, I hate us all, are generally looking for good sex. I have been trying. When I see a man, I wonder, what would it be like? Does he know anything about France? Just kidding. I could give a shit about France, but I do like your dick, for shame. When I'm with you, we are getting sexy now, dumb hags. I can make you come and not even touch you. Truth is, I will stand up and you will see how France could be exciting. I think men like Emily Dickinson because she didn't make sense. They can now mansplain her. Just kidding. She is the most admired haiku master. A poet once told me you can only use one exclamation mark in your whole poetry life. For shame. I want to think about how that compares to my teaching. I want to say I am better, but I am a hag, enlightened though I am. Your hair is so pretty, they say. Wait till it falls out. I should just cut it off. And that is bondage, isn't it? My whole life is thinking about flowers, so I will not mention them again here. And when they die, they too are hags. If I could trace a nice pen over some marks on paper, I would be happy. If it meant nothing, I could be miserable. A candidate, finally. If I am over here and you are over there, I can still make you come. If I were born a man, would I still be a woman? I am not talking about gender, but spirit. What is the spirit? A French man would say it is degradation of physicality or constellation of mandibular wonderment. Right now, my eyes are dripping. I miss someone I don't even know. Truth is, terribly. I am captured by viscosity. It has so much potential. When someone is lazy, we say that. If someone is ugly, we say that. if some. In the end, the hair will all fall out. Internationally speaking, only the French can rename the bastions of civil fortitude in French. And before I go, I just wanted, I wouldn't be able to be here without Maureen and Evelina and Therese, and I'm so excited to, hi Mia, I didn't say hi to you. Maureen and I have this fantastic chapbook called 00, which I'm really excited about, from Hysterical Books. I'm not going to put her on the spot and make her read a poem here, but it's really fantastic. And this was cool because it was, I think, an old manuscript that we had written maybe 12 or 13 years ago. And she found it. She's like, oh my God, I found this chapbook. And I was like, oh my God, we got to do something with it. So it was really exciting. And if you guys know Maureen, you know how that works, right? Oh, good. And then there's a link to the chapbook. So if you get a chance to look at it or check it out, I'd really appreciate it. And it does have some of my visual work, because I'm also a visual artist. I do glitches and asemic work too. So these are my glitches on them. Anyway, thank you so much, you guys. This is really, really fun.
Thank you. Wow. Thank you so, so much. All right. Wonderful, Christine. I love the energy. I want 1/10 of your energy. I think I'd be good for the rest of the year. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Last but certainly not least, I am so pleased to welcome Jubi, my friend, my fellow cohort member, to the reading here. Jubi Arriola-Headley is a Black queer poet, storyteller, and first-generation United Statesian who lives with his husband in South Florida and whose work explores themes of manhood, vulnerability, rage, tenderness, and joy. He's a 2018 PEN America Emerging Voices Fellow, holds an MFA from the University of Miami, and his poems have been published with Ambit, Beloit Poetry Journal, Literary Hub, Nimrod, Southern Humanities Review, The Nervous Breakdown, and elsewhere. Jubi's debut collection of poems, Original Kink, is available now from Sibling Rivalry Press. Let's give it up for Jubi. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Caitlin, for that introduction. I miss y'all. My time at Miami was a wonderful time. I learned so much from all my teachers, by which I mean the faculty. I see you, Maureen, I miss you. I see you, Jaswinder, Holly, Mia, Evelina, Chantal. And I mean my cohort. Claire, Caitlin, Susan, I see you, Christelle, I saw you, James and Paula. And if I missed anybody, I apologize, but I love y'all. I'm gonna read 2 poems, and I haven't read either of these publicly before, so I'm a teeny bit nervous, but I hope it goes okay. The first poem is actually inspired by a book Maureen introduced to me, to us, to our cohort, called A Box of Longing with 50 Drawers by Jen Benka. And the conceit of that particular collection of poems is a deep dive into the preamble of the United States Constitution, with poems focused on each of the 50 words, I believe, that comprises the preamble. And I was stuck on that very first word, and have been for a while, we. And some of y'all in my cohort know this. I wrote a poem, an abecedarian, a very brief abecedarian, sort of responding to that word. And that's what I'm going to try to share with you now. We is abscess, is boot lick, is cat call, is death drop, is end zone, is fist bump, is gas light, is hashtag, is ink blot, is jail bait, is kill shot, is lock down, is murder, is murder. I'm so sorry, I lost my place. I can't believe that. I told you all I was nervous. I'm gonna try one more time. We is abscess, is bootlick, is cat call, is death drop, is end zone, is fist bump, is gas light, is hashtag, is ink blot, is jail bait, is kill shot, is lockdown, is murder, is murder, is murder, is nightstick, is outlaw, is predator, is quarterback, is race, I mean rape, I mean rage, is Superman, is trespass, is uppercut, is vulture, is whitewash, is xenophobe, is y'all, is. That's, I think, I hope, a poem that feels appropriate right now and that someday I hope doesn't feel appropriate, for whatever that means. I apologize for losing my place. Hopefully it didn't skew or ruin the reading too much for you. I am not leaving y'all with that vibe, because there is joy in the world, there is joy in my world. This second poem, I hope you enjoy. I'm gonna put her on the spot and say I shared this poem with Claire and she thought it wasn't trash. So I'm gonna take a risk. This poem has not been seen by eyes. The first poem is in my book, Original Kink, which looks like this. Yes, I got a hot, sexy, mostly naked man for the cover. This second poem is not in anything because it was only born up in the past month. And it is called Queer Fan Fiction, Frida and Josephine at La Casa Azul. And it's my last poem, so I'm gonna read this one. Queer Fan Fiction, Frida and Josephine at La Casa Azul. Josephine slays for days, lays the rhythmic glyph of her across the cold saltillo floor, coaxes her toes into a perfect unpoint, tucks the world behind her eyes, says, cast me however you will. Frida forgets every fickle bit of man or metal that ever pierced her, drops to her brittle knees. Her hands too fall, unable to resist the pull of gravity to Josephine's errant belly. There, Frida lazy traces circle after flawless circle. Josephine giggles, forgets to taut like she's expected to. Her breath expands, rises to meet the hardened tips of Frida's paint-stained fingers. I've never met a canvas that would not respond to touch, Frida whispers. Josephine begins to sing. Wanting you is my offense. You have all the evidence. Now I wait for you to sentence me. Death, Frida thinks. Death by 1,000 blisses. Frida reads like a book to Josephine, who lifts a single finger, says everything she needs to with a hook. Come. Thank you all so much for letting me read with y'all. It's been a wonderful honor for me. Good to see y'all, et cetera, et cetera.
Bravo.
Thank you, Jubi.
Love you.
Let's hear it for all 9 of our exceptionally talented poets. You're welcome to unmute yourselves. You can give yourselves an applause.
Everybody.
Go ahead, poets. Go ahead.
Proud of all of you.
It's great.
You're fantastic.
So
You're
good.
amazing. You're brilliant.
Beautiful.
Just saying.
Thank you, Maureen.
Maureen.
Maureen, what
Maureen.
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 Thank you, Melissa.